Picture this. A man is standing in a small studio at 2 in the morning, headphones on, laying down a vocal track under a name almost nobody connects to him. Hours earlier, he was strapped into a 200-mile-an-hour machine wearing the red of Ferrari. Now, he's just a voice in a booth, chasing a different kind of speed, the kind that lives in a melody. That contradiction is the whole story of Lewis Hamilton. Most people know the trophies. 7 world titles, 106 race wins, a name etched permanently into the record books of Formula One. But strip away the podium finishes and the champagne, and you find something far more interesting. A man who has spent 2 decades quietly building an entire second life that has almost nothing to do with the steering wheel. This is not a highlight reel of his races. This is the story of what Lewis Hamilton does when the engine turns off. Start with the music, because it's the part fans discover last and love most once they find it. For over 10 years, Hamilton has recorded under the alias Zenda, spelled X-N-D-A, but pronounced Zenda, a name deliberately built to separate the artist from the athlete. He has featured on professional tracks, sat in on sessions with major producers, and quietly built a catalog of private material most of the world has never heard. He doesn't talk about it the way he talks about racing. There's no press conference for a verse laid down at midnight. That's exactly the point. Music, for him, isn't a marketing extension of the Lewis Hamilton brand. It's the one space where nobody's timing him, judging his lap, or measuring him against a rival. Former teammates have described a man who unwinds not with silence, but with headphones and a half-finished track. It's a habit that started long before the world called him a champion, and it's one of the few pieces of his life that has stayed entirely his. Now walk into a completely different room. Paris. Fashion Week, camera flashes replacing engine roars. Hamilton didn't just attend these shows as a celebrity guest. He built his way into the room as a collaborator. His partnership with Tommy Hilfiger produced the Tommy by Lewis line, a racing-inspired menswear collection born from what he's described as an unexpectedly personal relationship with the designer himself. Then came Dior, not a sponsorship, but a genuine design seat at one of the most prestigious houses in the world, culminating in menswear collections shown on the Paris runway. Layer on top of that his own streetwear label, Plus 44, named for his racing number, and an ambassador role with Lululemon, focused on sustainable materials. Here's what makes this different from the usual athlete-turned-fashion face story. Hamilton treats clothing as a language. Growing up as one of the only black kids in British karting paddocks, style became a way to say something before he'd even opened his mouth. Decades later, that instinct scaled into an actual seat at the design table. And it's arguably the ventures list where he's earned the most authentic respect from an industry that doesn't hand out credibility for free. Here's a twist. Almost nobody outside his inner circle saw coming. In 2019, Hamilton, a committed vegan for years by that point, co-founded Neat Burger, a plant-based fast food chain built to compete directly with the biggest names in fast food, not just serve a niche health crowd. It wasn't a celebrity-branded product line slapped onto an existing business. It was a company he helped build from the ground up, expanding into multiple international markets. Then, in 2023, he went further, launching Almave, a non-alcoholic blue agave spirit made in partnership with a respected Mexican distillery, stepping directly into a booming category of drinks built for people who want the ritual of a cocktail without the alcohol. Both ventures tell you something about how Hamilton actually thinks about business. He's not renting his face out to categories that already exist. He's identifying where his own lifestyle, plant-based eating, sober, curious drinking is becoming a genuine cultural shift and getting there early as a founder, not a face.
It's Bunny Hops. That's a wheelie.
Then there's the project that might end up outliving every lap he's ever driven. Hamilton co-founded his own production company, Dawn Apollo Films, and used it to help bring a Formula One movie starring Brad Pitt to the screen, a film that went on to earn over $600 million worldwide. This wasn't a case of a famous athlete lending his name for a consulting credit. Hamilton was involved from the inside, shaping how the sport was portrayed so it felt true to the people who actually live it, not just a Hollywood version of speed. And it's not a one-off. Dawn Apollo Films already has further projects in development, positioning Hamilton not as a subject Hollywood tells stories about, but as someone telling stories himself on his own terms, long after his racing career eventually ends. Underneath all of it sits something quieter and, in many ways, more important to him personally. Hamilton grew up as one of the only working-class black kids in a sport dominated by wealth and whiteness, and he's been open about how isolating that experience was in his early years. That history is the entire reason Mission 44 exists. His foundation focused on improving education and career access for underrepresented young people, particularly in STEM and motorsport-adjacent industries. It's not a charity he lends his name to for a photo. It's structured as a long-term institution meant to outlast his driving career entirely, funding the kind of access and mentorship he didn't have when he was starting out. Where the fashion lines and the drinks brand are about building wealth, Mission 44 is about redistributing opportunity. Taken together, they reveal a man deliberately building two different kinds of legacy at once, one financial, one social, and refusing to treat either as more important than the other. Zoom out, and the pattern becomes obvious. Music that answers to no one. Fashion built on genuine design credibility. Food and drink brands founded from real personal habits. A film company shaping how his own sport gets remembered. A foundation rewriting access for the next generation. None of these ventures depend on him winning another championship. That's not an accident. It's a strategy. The same instinct that makes him elite on track, applied to an entire life outside of it. Real racing drivers know that a single strong lap means nothing if the strategy behind it falls apart later in the race. Hamilton appears to have applied that exact same thinking to his life beyond Formula One, distributing his energy his identity, and his income across ventures that don't rise or fall with a single result on a Sunday afternoon. So, when people ask what Lewis Hamilton will do when he eventually retires from Formula One, the honest answer is that he already has. He's been quietly building that second life in parallel with the first one for years. A studio session here, a design meeting there, a burger chain, a movie, a foundation. Each one a small bet on who he wants to be once the helmet finally comes off for good. The trophies will always define how history remembers his racing career. But if you ask the people who actually know him, they'll tell you the more revealing story was never really about the racetrack at all. It was about everything he built in the spaces around it.
When I look back in 20 years' time, the racing part will only be one aspect of my career.
Everything I'm touching in general is moving in the right direction with sustainability.
So I took action to go vegan and raise awareness for a more conscious way of living.
I like to look back and think that I've helped change an industry to being diverse and to being forward-thinking and being a part of the change for a greener world. So I would not give up. I'll just keep going.